And hello, my name is Kevin, and today in this video we're going to talk about creating a hacking lab in a virtual sandbox. So with VMware PLayer 6, we can create this environment where we can play with our attacking machine and attackee machines, our victim machines, and cause no harm to the computer systems around us. And that's what our aim is today, is to create a hacking lab that's safe, that we can do our research and practice, but is not going to disturb any of the computers around us. Now, I will have to say this. Kali Linux is what we're going to be using today. Is very powerful. There's a lot of tools in Kali that can do harm to other computer systems. Do not, and I repeat, do not use these tools against computer systems or networks that you do not own or you do not have explicit written permission to mess with. You can get in a lot of trouble, and no, I cannot help you if you end up doing this, okay? So don't call me. Don't say I didn't warn you. Everything that I talk about here in this video is for informational purposes only. Okay, having said that, back to our lab. So this is how our simple lab is going to be comprised. We're going to use VMware PLayer 6 as our virtualization environment. It's free. Yay. Kali Linux is going to be our distribution tool of choice, but it doesn't mean that's the only thing we can use. We can use other tools. There's other Linux distributions, and we can also build an attacking Microsoft distribution as well, or OS. We're going to be using the OWASP Broken Web Apps distribution. That's a Linux distribution with a whole bunch of really broken web applications and some older real web applications, which makes it a little bit more real world. And we're going to also be using Metasploitable 2.0, which is a broken Linux distribution. Yeah, it does have some web applications on it, but it also has some broken services that you might encounter in the real world as well. So putting all this together actually makes for a very good lab environment that we can add to later if we need to be able to practice and do a little research for hacking. Okay, so the first things that we're going to need is installing some software. So right here I have 5 pieces of software that we're going to need specifically for this lab. You may have some of this. That's okay. First one is 7-Zip. 7-Zip is an archive program. You can get it over there at 7zip.org. I've already downloaded it. I'll show you how to install that in a second. VMware PLayer 6. It's a great piece of software. I would highly recommend, though, if you know, I'm not getting paid by VMware. It's not how I get paid. So I get nothing for saying this. But VMware Workstation is really, really cool. If you're on a Macintosh, VMware Fusion. Very similar products. They are invaluable for doing this sort of research and practice. So I would highly recommend that if you can't afford it, they're not cheap, but they're not out of the range of possibility either. So in terms of price, so I would highly consider, if you're going to get into the security business, that you get a copy of these virtualization desktop products. So our tool of choice is going to be Kali Linux, the VMware image. You can get this as an ISO and do an ISO install. We're going to use the VMware image just because I'm not going to go through the installation part of it. You can figure that out. We're just going to get this lab up and running and working as fast as possible. We're also going to use, as I mentioned before, the OWASP Broken Web Applications over there at SourceForge, and then the Metasploitable distribution over there at SourceForge as well. So let's get started. I have here already downloaded these things. Let's go to the downloads here. I've already downloaded these. Let's go ahead and install 7-Zip. There's something here I want to show you just to make sure we're all on the same page. We're going to do, on most of these installs, we're going to do what's called a spousal install, right? You probably heard of this. You just click yes or next, and you never get in trouble, right? Okay, so next here, accept the agreement. Next here, install. And that should not take too long. It's going to ask for administrator privileges and finish. By the way, in order to do all of this, you need to have administrator privileges to your computer. You can't really install VMware if you don't have administrative privileges. So if you don't on the computer you're on, find a computer system that you can get administrative privileges to install this on. Now, when you install the 7-zip program, the first thing you want to do is go to the 7-zip file manager and run this as administrator. You only have to do this once. Click OK. And under Tools and Options, here it's going to ask you, 7-zip can archive in a lot of different formats, but it can unarchive in even more formats. So it's really a great tool for free. If you have another WinZip program or something like that, just check this. If you don't, check them all. You can select them all, and it will associate all of those different archive formats to this program. I'm just going to click 7Z for now and click Apply. Click OK. And go ahead and get rid of that. So we should be set. Now, on two of these, the Kali Linux and I believe the OWASP, these are in 7Z format. Metasploitable Linux is in zip format. So we can go ahead and start extracting these. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click this. Open with 7-zip manager, and I'm going to extract. It's going to ask me, where do I want to put this? Well, that's a good question. I'm going to click here, and under, where is it? My Documents. Let's put it under My Documents. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this VMware VMs, Virtual Machines. Click OK, and it's going to put them there. Okay, when this gets done, we'll come back. Okay, we're back. Man, that took a long time. Okay, let's go ahead and click that away. The next one we're going to extract is the OWASP broken web apps. Let's do an open with. And open that with a 7-zip manager. Now notice that this doesn't have a nice tidy folder. So when we click extract, what we want to do is click on this again. We want to go into Documents, My Documents, and find the VMs again. We are going to create a new folder in here, and we're going to call this OWASP. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Broken Web Apps. I'm just going to do that. So that's where I'm going to extract it to. And again, we'll come back when this is finished. Okay, we're back. That was not so bad. The final piece of extraction goodness is here, Metasploitable. We can just double click on this guy, right click that folder, copy, and then let's go back to our VMware VMs, and we can do a paste. And that should extract that sucker out of there. Now, what did this do? Did I mess something up? Let's see. Oh, OWASP actually decided not to go in the folder I told it. So we can delete this folder if you did the same thing. Delete that one, say yes, and then let's just rename this one. Rename. And we'll call that OWASP BWA. Yep. Okay. All right, Metasploitable is almost extracted. And when it is, we can get started creating the lab. Now, I've already pre-installed VMware PLayer. Okay. But I don't have anything, I don't have any virtual machines yet. So here it is, okay? So what we want to do is we want to open up each one of these. So when we go in the folder, look for the little blue squares. I don't even know what that is. But anyway, double click that and Kali Linux will just pop right up. Now it's going to ask you a few questions over here. One, do you want to buy VMware Workstation 10? Remind me later. Remind me later here. Here, I'm getting something that you're probably not going to see. Now, what this is saying, I have to admit to you, I'm actually running on a Macintosh, virtualizing Windows 7, virtualizing this virtual lab. So I'm virtualizing inside a virtualization environment. Basically, what it's telling me is, hey, even though you can do this, it's really not recommended. You're going to have performance problems. For the purposes of demonstration, don't worry about it. You're not going to see this error, so don't freak out if you don't get it. It's no big deal. We can do this. It's legal. It's just not the best thing in the world to do. Oh, whenever you move a virtual environment, I always click I moved it. It seems to work a little better. I think the host ID, if you click I copied it, the host ID changes, and things can get a little screwy. Okay, so this is asking me about downloading the VM tools. Now, in Kali, it's the VMware distribution or the VMware image is already got tools installed in it. So we can just remind me later. And we're not going to install tools on the attackee machines, so we don't really need it. Let's clean up a little bit here. We can get rid of that. We can get rid of this. We can get rid of that. So this will be Kali right here on top of my picture. Okay, so this is booted. So when you need to take control of the virtual machine, click inside the window. On some OSs that you might install, you may have trouble getting out of this window. Just if that happens, just hit Control Alt. That will break you out of the virtual environment. Because Tools is installed, you don't have that problem. It does it for you automatically. If you were to install using the ISO until you got tools installed, you would have to break out using the Control Alt method. Okay, so let's log in. The default user is root, and the default password is TOOR, lowercase. Now, most Linuxes and Unixes, you don't want to be logging in as root, but Kali is a little bit different. There's a lot of the tools just don't work if you're not root. So logging in as root is kind of the norm for Kali, at least for me. I've tried to set it up traditionally, and it hasn't worked out. Kali is very specialized in what it does. Okay, so let's try this. Let's go ahead and open up and get the other distributions up and running. So let's go into download. Oops, no. Let's go into Documents, VMware. Let's bring up Metasploitable. Again, click the little blue square things inside there. We'll put this. It's gonna kind of bark at me about the same things. That's okay. Clicked, I moved it. Remind me later. I understand. Remind me later. Click that away. Okay, so now Metasploitable is booting. And while we're at it, because it's virtual, we can go ahead in here and double click the OWASP Broken Web Apps to get that booting. Clicked, I moved it. And put that up here, kind of so it matches the picture. Remind me later. Okay, we can get rid of this. Okay, so now while those are booting, there's a couple of things that we need to do. Okay, here in Kali. Come on. Oh, there we go. We need to go ahead and update. So apt get update. This is going to update your repositories and your mirrors and packages that are available. Okay, after that's updated, we type apt get upgrade. And that will basically say, okay, there's a bunch of packages I'd like to download. There's 606 megabytes of packages. That's a lot. So I'm going to say yes here, and I'm just going to let this go. And so when this is finished, we'll come back and we'll take a look at our environment, okay? All right, we're back. That was easy, wasn't it? Okay, so there's a couple things we need to check. If you notice this, the OWASP hanging for a little bit and said, hey, I have so many days, or there's been so many days since it's being checked. It's just doing a file system check. So it should have come back on you. Hopefully it did. It came back on me. Let's go ahead and click never remind me. We're never going to install the tools there. As well as on this one, we're never going to install the tools. You can if you want, but we don't need to. Okay, we need to check a few things. We need to make sure that we're on the same network, and I am pretty sure we are. But if you look here, 192.168.122.130, I suspect, since this was the last one to come up, that this will be 129, and this will be 128. So let's type ifconfig here in the Kali terminal, and we see that it is 122.128. That's what I expected. That's what I like to see. Okay, let's look over here at Metasploitable. We can do a login, MSF admin, and MSF admin, and do an ifconfig. And so now we know that our attacking machine is going to be 128, and our two attackees, or our two victim machines, will be 129 and 130. Now, notice that I don't have a mouse anymore. Where'd it go? Well, if I just hit Control-Alt, I can get out. I break out of that. Notice that it disappears when I click in. If I hit Control-Alt, it comes back. Okay? Now, just to make sure that we can see these machines, let's nmap one of these machines, and we'll just do a -A -VV is for very verbose, and -A just means throw everything you got at it. And let's put in the address of 192.168.122.1. Let's look at Metasploitable, 129. Oh, look at all those ports we can hack. Nice. All right, so it has seen it as a Unix or Linux system. Let's see. The OS has come back as Linux. That's good. There's the OS fingerprint. And here's some other information about the services that it found on this system. So this is great. Let's try this for the OWASP distribution, or the OWASP OS. Same thing. Oh, we got a lot of discovered ports that we can hack on. And while that's going, let's just go ahead and point our browser to these. So if I just type in http 192.168.122.1, what did I say, 130? That is the broken web apps. And there it is. Hey, nice. Look at all this. All this hacking goodness. Okay, so our lab is set up. In the next video, I'm going to talk about some of the things that you can do. I'll talk a little bit more about Kali setup, and I'll demonstrate some SQL injection against this. So until next time, have a great day.